I'm interested in things about you that I'm just going to ask for myself. This is probably boring old stuff for you, but let's get to the drugs and get them out of the way. Okay, so as you said, you're living in Pittsburgh as a teenager. You start doing drugs in the mid-'60s, roughly? Is it first mescaline?
I'm an old guy, yeah. I wasn't cool enough for the kids in school to share pot, but I had a sister who, God love her, was a hippie. Who was in Berkeley. And she gets pissed when I say she gave me mescaline, so I'm going to say I stole mescaline.
Yeah. Well, that's what my sister said, too.
Yeah, you have the same ish. And next thing I know, there's like buses coming out of the sky, you know, and the whole Peter Max scenario. And I am such a cornball, douchey little kid. All I remember saying in the midst of this phantasmagoria is like, will this affect my grades? You know,
how old were you?
I was 14, maybe 13 or 14.
So you had your bar mitzvah.
Did I? I guess I had my bar mitzvah, but it wasn't a theme bar mitzvah. There weren't very many Jews where I grew up. I was one of like 800 in my public school, and I was routinely beaten up for like killing Jesus.
This was when you were a teenager in Pittsburgh.
No, I wasn't
60s.
even a teenager yet. I was
this was
like
still an adolescent, a young adolescent.
Like a little boy. Yeah, you know, it was like a working class part of town. You know, a lot of Italians and Irish, and I was friends with these guys, but some of them just objected to the whole Jew thing. What can I say?
So what kind of kid were you with a mother who periodically underwent electroshock treatment and what turned out to be a suicidal father? What kid are you? What kind of child?
Oh, happy-go-lucky, you know, devil may care.
So you really weren't. It was a depressing
just down to the
household.
old fishing hole. It was you know, when all you know is nightmare, it's not a nightmare. A lot of people had it a lot worse. I mean, that was the era when like the kids across the street would get beaten by a belt out in the street and then dragged inside. Nobody fucking batted an eye.
That never happened to you.
No, I wasn't physically beaten. It was more of that beautiful, tormenting, you'll never be a man, you know.
What is about this? Because, you know,
my mother was just a very mean lady. My relatives weren't even allowed to come to the house because she was so mean to the cousins.
But obviously she had problems.
Had some issues.
Had issues, and so she had to deal with them somehow.
Yeah, I think part of the issues, you know, from I guess what would now be a feminist perspective, was this was a very brilliant woman who gets out of college and ends up being a fucking housewife.
Isn't that the narrative of millions of women?
Yeah, it's not the most original thing in the world, but I think
too.
I mean, look at the Hours, you know, or, you know,
yeah.
It's just that kind of sad narrative. Read a lot, very witty, had crazy fucking Jubilee sayings. Like if somebody said, Bret's very talented, they'd say, well, you didn't get a lick in the wallpaper. Mm-hmm. Just these weird, crazy ass sayings from a Nangahala, PA.
God, it's amazing that you came out of it as well as
completely
you did.
Normal and unscathed.
I mean, so it has nothing to do. There are no connect the dots between your father's suicide and the beginning of your drug use. Really,
there's not really.
Not really. And
but have you ever heard that great Hemingway quote, which is, you know, the greatest gift an artist can have is an unhappy childhood?
Yeah, I do. Because
so I was gifted.
Yeah, I had it too.